Welcome to another edition of the Health and Wellness Show. My name is Nellie Greer, and with us this evening is Clayton Tedeton, a man who after an auto accident was given a gift in the form of a formula or formulas through divine intervention, which not only changed his life as he knew it, but it would change the way the world would live and deal with sickness. This is going to have you question your religious beliefs and your belief in miracles. In this day and age, when we are questioned about our religion, what we should and shouldn't say, we need to rethink our life and how we are living it. Here to share with us his remarkable and amazing story in which the Miracle 2 products were born is Clayton Tedeton. Clayton, I am honored to have you on our show today. I know how busy you are because we've been trying to book you for over a year.
It's a pleasure just being here. It's an honor. It's my honor.
Thank you so very much, Clayton. For all those who don't believe in miracles or that miracles occur in this day and age, Clayton will prove you wrong because his life was changed and how he knew it with what happened to him in the morning of July 1981. Clayton, take us back to that day in July 1981.
Well, my life really started in 1969. I just got out of the Marine Corps a few years before, come home, got married, had 3 kids, and I was a brick distributor and a carpet distributor and owned some rent property in that area. And I thought that was going to be my mode of livelihood for all my life. But on December the 17th, 1969, I'd had a beautiful day, and I was about 60 miles from home, and a little 16-year-old girl run a stop sign right out on the main highway in Winfield, Louisiana. And for the next 8 months, I laid sick in the hospital and at home, unable to drive. I couldn't get out in the sunshine. I couldn't stand any noise. I had 3 teenagers. I was in a mess. And you know, it even gets to the point after a man or a woman is down so long, you're a drag to your family, and your family doesn't even like you at times because you can't get out and do anything. And my wife had took the 3 children over to her mother's house and left me in that big house. I'd built the biggest house in that part of the country at that time. And you know, we had 2 television stations at that time, and I cut the TV on real low, and this funny-talking man was telling how God had healed him of tuberculosis. Any way you figure it, that's a bad disease. And he told me there was a God that had dealt with him and healed him. That was the first hope I'd had in 8 months. And I listened to that man, and when he got through, I was amazed, and he pointed his finger out to the TV audience and said, there's a man that's been in a car wreck. If he will believe today, God will heal him. That was the first hope I'd had in 8 months. And when he got through, I just said, if there is a God, like this man's talking about, if you're as real as he's telling about, if you'll let me get well, finish raising my family, I'll do anything you want me to do. I was sincere one time in my life. And my wife come in that night. I took my medicine from 4 doctors, went to bed, just like I had for 8 months. I had headaches so bad I would just fall out. And pain will drive you to doing some hellish things.
Oh, I know.
I even considered taking my life at one time. I was hurting so bad. But I went to bed, and the next morning I woke up at 6 o'clock, just like you'd flip the switch on. Slipped out of bed, walked up that 80-foot hall, went in the kitchen, made my first pot of community coffee there in Louisiana. That's our state coffee. Name of it's a community coffee. So my wife smelled it cooking. She knew it wasn't a kid. She bailed out of bed, come running up, and just as she was walking into the kitchen, I was dumping all my medicine out in the garbage can.
Oh, amen.
She panicked, began to call the kin folks, said he's doing some strange thing. I think he's going into that last state just before he croaks or something. But I knew I was healed. I just knew it. I was clear-headed, no headaches for the first time in 8 months. I knew I was healed. And I went back to work just like a quit. I had managers at my rent property. I didn't have to be there. And I had got my 2 brother-in-laws in the brick business, and they was taking care of my business while I was out of work. So, you know, I just started back to work, and shortly after that, I began to hear this voice. You promised me you'd obey me. And I would start talking to this voice, and my wife would hear me talking, so she'd say, Clayton, who are you talking to? I'd say, don't pay me any attention. You know, and it got so frequent in 1972, I told my wife, I said, honey, I just got to get away and find out who I am, because I didn't really know who I was. And so she said, whatever you got to do, do it, because you're running me nuts, walking around here talking to yourself, and you can't tell me what's going on. So I got my motor home, and that year, my oldest daughter, Deborah, graduated, and she said, Daddy, I want to go with you. So I had her with me. We just traveled roads. We come all up through here, just traveling, trying to get lost. Every place I went to and stayed a week. I called them funny people then. Now I call them Christian. Yeah. They'd come up to me and tell me they loved me and God loved me. I didn't even love myself. And I'd wonder, if they knew me, they wouldn't love me. But they was obeying the Spirit of God. And so we lived that way for 8 years. The next year I had 2 daughters with me. Pamela graduated. And the next year I had a son, Kirk. He graduated and he wanted to come off. But my wife, she had to stay at home between the 1st and the 10th to take care of the money, pay the bills. And
absolutely.
You know, Delta Airlines started there in Monroe, Louisiana, so I'd call Delta. I may be sitting in Chicago or Cheyenne, Wyoming, or LA, and I'd say, honey, if you'll go jump that plane at a certain time, you can be out here. That was when I just pulled the motor home. They didn't care. You could just pull it up so the propellers, just so the propellers wouldn't hit the front of it. That was the good old days. Now you can't even get within a half a mile of most airports on a vehicle.
Absolutely.
But we lived that way. She'd come and stay with us for 2 or 3 weeks and fly back home. And this went on for 8 years. And everybody thought we went crazy around home, but I was running like a fugitive. And I was in Union City, Tennessee in 1981. Broke, or 1980. Snowing, running like a fugitive from God. And I told my son, I said, I got to go back home and face whatever I got to face. So we packed up in the biggest snowstorm, drove home. And I got in, I still didn't know what to do. And I was holding full-fledged conversations with this voice by that time. And my wife would say, Clayton, what is going on? I said, Pat, I just don't know. Don't ask me any questions. And at one point I said, God, how am I going to make a living if I quit doing what I'm doing? I knew in my heart something was going to change. And this voice said, I'm going to reveal something to you that every person on the earth will need, and them that believe who I have sent will prosper and see my glory. I heard that ringing through my head all that evening. Went to bed, and 1 o'clock at night, it was just like somebody come and shook you. And I raised up in bed, and I didn't see anybody because I could see a light down the hall. And, you know, I raised up in bed, and I had a 16-foot glass door in the bedroom, and all of a sudden, it just lit up. 1 cup of this, 1 spoon of this. God knew He had to give me what He gave me in plain Jane English, because I know no chemistry. Never been to a chemistry class in my life. But he just wrote it out in plain language. I woke my wife up. She thought I was having a nightmare. I said, woman, grab a pencil and start writing. And she copied down what I told her. I don't know whether it lasted seconds or a minute. I was in a state of shock. If you can just imagine waking up with this happening.
Amazing.
It's just wild. And she, when it was over with, she said, Clayton, we got to do some talking. You've been talking to yourself. Now you're seeing stuff wrote on the walls. I said, Pat, I don't know what to talk about. Just lay back down and go to sleep. I didn't get any sleep that night. Got up the next day. It took me about 3 days to gather up the raw materials, and I didn't know what it was. And I put it in the kitchen sink. I needed a lab to start with, so, so I started in the kitchen sink. And I put all of this in it, 7 different things it takes to make a bottle of this. And I turned around to get something off the cabinet, and when I turned back around, suds were just running down the cabinet.
Oh, my word.
And about that time, Pat walked in the kitchen, and I found out you ladies don't like for us old boys to measure kitchens out. So she said, Clayton, you're getting everything wet. So I stopped it and mopped. It took me about 30 minutes to mop and clean up all the water. And my second batch, I made it out on the carport in a galvanized tub. And when it foamed over, I had a 5-car garage. And every one of those old cars back during that time leaked oil out of them. I had just 5 globs of oil out on it. And I'd tried everything but dynamite to get that oil off of it. And as it foamed over, I noticed the oil began to dissolve. I said, what in the world is this? I took a broom and swished it around, and I spent that morning cleaning my carport up. That is the only thing that God has let me discover about this out of the hundreds of usages for it. But I began to give it to my managers at the rent property, and they said, Clayton, that's the best soap you've ever got us. And by the way, when you're mopping and you just hit a bug with it, he just flips over dead. And I said, what in the world is
So it
this?
kills bugs too.
Yeah, it just drowns them, the simplest form of eradication. And you know, if you bought carpet, I give you a jug of it. If you bought brick, I give you a jug of it. Or if you just come by the house, I give it away for 5 years. And then people begin to say, Clayton, I don't want you to give it to me, I want to buy it. I've got to buy something, so I want to buy that. That's the best product I've ever used. So I put 3 men and 1 lady out, employed them selling soap all over Louisiana. All of the fast food places, jails, civic centers, housing authorities. They're stripping wax off the floor, cleaning every conceivable cleaning that needed to be done. It done it, and none of it was harmful to people.
No chemicals. It's
Nothing dangerous.
No food coloring.
Nothing dangerous.
Right.
So through the whole thing, it got to a point that one of the biggest chains, hamburger chains, won the Greaseless Award in the North Louisiana area.
Because? Because of your
product. So if anybody's been in the back of hamburger joints and all, it's just grease. They deal with animal fat grease all the time. Nothing will cut that stuff but Miracle 2.
Wonderful.
So there's doing that, sailing along. I really wasn't happy with it. I still had my brick business, carpet business, and the rent property. And 2 salesmen come in, and one of them said, Clayton, we need to put $200 on this drum of soap. Another one said, we need to put $5 on this 5-gallon. I said, why? He said, well, the purchasing agent wants a kickback or a payoff. I said, no, we're not getting in bed with a bunch of criminals.
Right.
So I shut the business down. I just shut it down. Every one of those purchasing agents, I mean some high officials, in North Louisiana. Some of them are in jail now. They've all been indicted. The chemical company that went with them, they're out of business. But I refused to get in bed with a bunch of criminals.
Thank you.
And I said, God, you said I'd see great things happen. I'm you know, cleaning up grease and killing bugs. There's no big glorious deal. It's good, but you know, I'm not seeing anything happen. This voice spoke to him and said, how much of my knowledge do you really want? I said, God, you've saved me. You've changed my life totally. Life has been so beautiful. And since I've met you, and he said, get rid of everything you acquired before you met me. I had a lot of junk.
Simplify.
1988, it took me 1 year to liquidate everything I had. And on the 28th of February, 1989, I'd got rid of everything. I'd become homeless, broke, but I was happier than I'd ever been in my life. I was out of debt. I owed no man anything. A lot of people took advantage of me. Some banks took advantage of me, but it didn't matter. I wanted to get out of debt. So when I settled up, I was broke and homeless. My wife refused to move with me. I moved out of that 4-bedroom California king-size house. We'd raised the kids in it, and to me it's just a big burden. I had grown to hate everything that I owned. I hated to rent property because you got to be mean to people. I got caught in the middle of the carpet. You would pick out one color, it'd get in and your husband wouldn't like it. I got caught in the middle. Brick the same way. The companies would just charge them to me. And I had grown to hate what I had got myself. And so I had no trouble liquidating it. And my wife, I went in one day about the 18th of the month, and I said, honey, we got to be out. I've got rid of the house. And I like for her to go off with me because a lot of women like to talk to her because they're going through some little similar situations. Can you imagine Abraham going in telling Sarah, say, honey, I've heard from God and we got to pick up the tent and move into this foreign country. And I can just see her. It doesn't say it in the Bible, but Abraham, we just got this tent stopped down to where the wind won't blow it off. And you say, we got to move?
Oh, Lord.
And so I had built her mother and daddy a brand new house 3 or 4 years before. Her dad lived a couple of years, and then he passed away, and her mother was there by herself. And by this time, I'd read in the Bible where it was better for a man to live in the attic than it was in a house with an angry woman. So I pawned her off on her mother to help take care of her, and I said, just move in with her and let's see what God's gonna do. That's all I could do. But I was sleeping on a 20-year-old couch. I'd moved into this abandoned house, and in a used sleeping bag, and I was so happy because for the first time that year, it was 7 degrees in Louisiana. It was cold. I didn't care whether that rent property froze up or not. I didn't own it. So I was laying there happy, rejoicing, and the Lord spoke to him and said, rejoice, I'm gonna make Miracle 2 a household word all over the world. Now, you got to remember, this was before computers. The government had computers, but they wasn't available to
us.
Regular people.
Right.
So I said, okay, you know my condition. It'll have to be you. I'll give you glory for it. And the telephone rang. And it was a lady that run the bass fishing tournaments all over the United States for 20 years. Pat Antley, she lives in that area. And she run the bass tournament, ladies bass tournament. She also owns 2 Christmas tree farms. I'd been swapping her 5 gallons of soap for 3 Christmas trees every year. One for me, one for Kirk, and one for Kirk's mother-in-law. And she called me up and said, Clayton, I know it's not Christmas time again,
But I need that
But
soap.
I need some more soap. And by the way, did you know that soap would heal skin cancer? I had come out of Korea with this hand almost froze off. It cracked. Every crease bled 365 days a year. I had about 8 or 10 skin cancers forming on my forehead. And when she told me that, I said, no, ma'am, hold the phone. Let me go jump in the tub of it. I had never used it for bathing or showering or washing with. I'd just been cleaning stuff with it. Well, she was using it to clean their boats and motors and her vans and trailers and all. And she said she noticed all of her skin cancers healed up. Well, she didn't have to go to somebody to ask them if it healed the rest of her body. She started bathing and showering with it. And she said, Clayton, you know my mother, her mother was 92 at that time. And she said, you know, her old skin was just like tree bark. Cracked up, her staying out in the Christmas tree farm all day and going fishing with her. She said, I want you to look at Mama's skin when you come by here. I've had her bathing in that soap. It is as smooth as a baby's bottom. That's exactly what she told me. And so I went over there, and sure enough, the lady's skin, she didn't look like a 92-year-old woman. Her skin was beautiful tan, no cracks, no crevices in it or anything, no barky looking skin. And that was the first healing. I come out of Korea with 3 distinctive rashes on my body. One of them itched like crazy. The service treated me for 12 years. I give up on them. They turned me over to a dermatologist in Monroe. He tormented me for a year. And I walked in his office one day unannounced, and he had his shirt off, and he had the same crud I had. I said, are you taking those shots and pills you're giving me? And of course he wasn't. And so I never did go back and see him. I thought maybe I just had to put up with that. But from the first bath I took in it, my rashes left me. A month later, all of my skin cancers fell off. I began to run every man down that had a skin problem. I'd say, hey, dude, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to help you.
Absolutely.
And I run into a man over in Texas that had 40-something cancers on his head. He looked like something out of a horror movie. I run him down. I said, man, I don't want to try to sell you anything. I want to help you. I'm not going to charge you. He said, no, man, I'm going to pay you for it. I've tried everything else. I tried to give it to him. He wouldn't accept it. And about 2 months later, I was sitting up at the office, and I saw this truck from Texas drive up. I said, there's some dude from Texas out there. And he walked in the door and announced himself, and I thought, well, so what? He said, man, I'm the guy that had all them cancers. Look, they're all gone. He was on his way to Mississippi to visit his family. He said his other 2 brothers was eat up with cancer, and he was going to start giving it to them. He started selling it, was doing good with it. But I run everybody down that had a sore on them and just give it to them, getting them healed. And that's how it started, just one-on-one. It started that way.
Well, Clayton, I want to say that your skin is beautiful.
Well, for an old dude, 72 years old.
It's beautiful, absolutely.
It's not bad. My hand, there's no cracks and crevices in it.
Right.
That hand like to froze off in Korea.
Yeah.
And I went from 1954 to 1989 or into the 90s. I could not shampoo my hair with this right hand. A hair felt like a dagger in those places.
Oh.
And it was torment. I mean, it was terrible. And now I run every sore-handed man down and say, hey, I'm not trying to sell you anything, I just want to help you. And that's how we picked up customers, and it's just grown and grown and grown over the years. And hey, you know, the one soap, well, I just had the formulation for one soap. With 7 different ingredients to make that, to put a bottle of it together. And one day, my wife said, Clayton, that soap is drying my skin out. Now I've got oily skin. I got 30 weight oil running out of me every day. But she's got borderline dry skin. So some company had sent me some little bottles of cold pressed oils out of California. And so I poured some of the oils in the soap. There again, I know nothing about chemistry. I was just led to do this. And I needed a guinea pig, and the only one fussing was my wife. So I shook it up and I said, honey, use this. And she come back in about a week and said, Clayton, every dry-skinned person in the world will want a bottle of this. Boy, you ought to bottle this and get it out there to the people.
Right.
So we had 2 soaps. Then one day the Lord said, separate some of the products. And I separated it, and I just had 3 bottles of clear-looking stuff. People would say, well, what's that, Clayton? I said, I don't know. God told me to separate it. And they said, well, what will it do? I said, I don't know. That's God's problem. He told me to separate it. And one day there was 4 ladies, 3 men, and me and Kirk at the office. And they come in, they asked a question. I said, we need a name for this. So we joined hands around the table. I said, now, if God tells you something, stop us and tell us. And when you're praying for something like that, a minute seems like an hour. I'd stop them every few seconds and say, has he told you anything? Because a lot of people have trouble if something comes to their mind or if God speaks to them in telling about it. You just got to prize it out of some people. And they'd say no, and I said, to myself, I just said, Lord, you've told me to do this. Now we need a name for this. And as plain as I'm talking to you, he said, call it Neutralizer. I'd never said that word in my life that I remember. I had no need to say it. I stopped them. I said, has he told you anything? They said, no. I said, well, he said, call it Neutralizer. They said, well, we don't know what it is. Sounds okay to me. So that was how the Neutralizer got its name. And the Miracle 2 on the label, Pat and I was coming out of Biloxi and Gulfport, Mississippi. I don't know whether you know where that's at, Gulfport and Biloxi, but a little town up in Mississippi called Loosedale, Mississippi. We was driving along in the evening about 3 o'clock, and I looked out. We didn't have a name for it, it's just soap. I'd write on the bottle with a stencil pencil
Soap.
what it was, that's all I knew. And I said, God, what could we name it? And I looked out, and there was just a little fluffy cloud floating along with the sun coming up over it. And all of a sudden, just Miracle Roman numeral 2 was wrote across it. And I told my wife, I said, grab a pencil and a piece of paper and draw me a fluffy looking cloud with the sun coming up over it and write Miracle Roman numeral 2 down. Well, I got to thinking about it. That was the second miracle that God had given me. He had healed me. He gave me the formulation. Then he saved me. I don't know what the rules and regulations of religion is, but that's what happened to me. I don't have religion. I'm a Christian. So that was, Pat said, now Clayton, you've seen stuff wrote on the walls at the house. You're talking to somebody, now you're seeing something wrote in the cloud. We got to talk, boy. I said, Pat, I don't know what to talk about. Just write it down. I went to several artists, and they couldn't draw it. And one of my salesmen said, I know a boy that can draw it. We went to his office. He had hair down to his knees. And so he listened to me, and I said, could I pray and ask God to give you that vision he gave me? He said, sure. So I sat him down in his chair on his front porch and asked God to put his nervous system back together to where he could think right. We left at 5 o'clock. At 7 o'clock the next morning, he called me. He said, Mr. Tedeton, I've never been on a project like this. I've been up all night. I think I've got what you want. I went down there. That's exactly what I saw. I said, now, you pick the colors out. he picked the colors out that we went with. But that's how the name of the product come up. So the Neutralizer, I just give it away to people. Hundreds of gallons of it. And people call me up and say, Clayton, you may think I'm nuts, but God just moved on me to put it in my eyes. My cataracts fell off. He moved on me to spray it in my throat, and my throat quit hurting. And I'll spray it in my ears, and I began to hear. Put it on my hair for a hair conditioner. I marinated some meat in it, and it tasted so good. It took a bunch of slimy, junky-looking junk out of the meat, and I washed my vegetables with the soap and Neutralizer, and it took all the parasites off of it. And things just began to bombard us with usages for it. And then somebody said, why don't you make a gel out of the Neutralizer? I know nothing about chemistry. I done something, and a bowl of it just turned to Jell-O. I couldn't get it in anything, so I just had a bowl full of it, and I didn't know what to do with it. So the next batch I made it on the inside of a 5-gallon container to where I could take air pressure and get it out. I started giving it away. People began to call me and say, man, I just rubbed it on aches and pains and it quit. I put it in my eyes. I had a sty on my eye and it went out overnight. I had poison ivy on me. I smeared that stuff around on me. It dried up overnight. And things just began to come at me with usages on it. And so we had 4 products. Then somebody said, why don't you make a skin moisturizer? So I took everything and poured it in a pot. I took the soap, the Neutralizer, the moisturizing soap, the gel, and put it in a pot, stirred it up. Now we've got the only odorless and greaseless skin moisturizer made in the world.
Amazing.
So that went along, we got it out. People that's got dry skin, that's what healed his hand up when I started making the moisturizer. And so then there was 2 ladies called me one day and said, Clayton, that soap costs too much to wash clothes with. I don't think it does for what it will do for you. It'll get you set chemical free because there's some bad things in washing powder.
Oh, there is.
If you don't believe it, wet your hand, stick it in your washing powder, be close to a water hydrant because it'll burn your skin.
Absolutely.
And anytime somebody has a problem, it concerned me. So I said, God, how could I save those people money? And he said, contain it. Now, you know, I don't know how you talk to God or anybody else, but I just talk to him like we're talking.
Right.
That's all I know. I said, contain it. And he said, put it in a container and throw it in the washing machine. So the first container I used was one of those 8-ounce bottles.
Oh, okay.
It worked, but it made a lot of noise.
Oh.
Bouncing around
Okay, got it.
in the washing machine. I said, I need a container. I didn't hear anything. About a week later, Susie, my daughter-in-law, Kirk's wife, went out and bought some kids some toys. And as she come in the office, she stumped her toe, and the bag blew open, and this ball rolled out. And the Lord said, there's your container. I grabbed it up, let the air out of it with a volleyball needle. Then I took a pump-up sprayer and put the volleyball needle on the end of it and a clamp, and I filled it up. Threw it in the washing machine, and lo and behold, it worked. 209 soft spikes on it. I run to the store, and they just had 10. They said they're obsolete. We don't make them anymore. I said, you got to.
I need them.
God told me this was what I was going to use.
Absolutely.
And they looked at me like I fell off a turnip truck or something. You know, they gave me the man headquarters number real quick. I called them up, and they told me the same thing. They're obsolete. They didn't sell worth a flip. We don't make we just don't handle them anymore. I said, man, you've got to. God told me this was it. Call them up and see if they'll make them. They said, well, how many do you want? And I said, well, I can buy 5,000. So he called me back the next day, and they said they'd make them just for you. But it'll be 3 months before you can get any. So I said, well, how about faxing me a list of all your stores? So me and my wife would get in a car and make a loop through the United States and stop at every store.
Oh, my word.
So God let us go on a vacation. We would stay on the road till we opened the doors and those balls would just roll out of the car and down the street and we'd run them down. But we'd bring a load in, fill them up, and we was in business. We stayed in business that way. God let us go on vacation, have a good time, meet a lot of precious people, and that's how we stayed in business. So from that, I figure those balls will last 20, 30 years. You know, there's been a lot of fraudulent stuff out, but this one's real. We have never charged anybody for replacing. I had one lady call me and said, Clayton, I'm a German Shepherd eating my laundry ball up. I said, well, did he look like he liked it? She said, he went around here blowing out bubbles for about 3 hours. I said, when I send you another one, roll it out in front of him, see what kind of a memory he's got.
Yeah.
But, hey, you know, things, we'll replace them after you use them. We've got 3 years in the book, but we've never charged anybody, I don't think, for one. If it went bad, we just replace it if it's 7 or 8 years, and this is about 9 years.
So soap is in there and neutralizer is in there.
And so now we make a water unit. And, you know, all of our water's bad.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's something we got to have. Our water is messed up. So these two chemists down in New Orleans, years ago, if you read the Amazing Grace scientific report, they spent 1 year writing that. Had nothing to do with it, but it was two people that was chemists and scientists. This one guy holds several patents on things. They were just totally consumed with this Miracle 2 product. They said they stopped in New Orleans, got a gallon of ditch water, and put a laundry ball in and put on a paint shaker and shook it for 15 minutes. And one of them told me, he said, you really don't know what God has revealed to you, do you? I said, no, I really don't. He said, you'll find out. So now, by containing the product and putting tubes in a bigger pipe where water runs over the material in another pipe, all I do is report what professionals tell me. They say it replenishes the water with negative ions. I wouldn't know a negative ion if I run over it in the middle of the road. But God has rigged up, give me the formulation of something that you can have pure, beautiful, structured, clustered water in your house. You can use it in swimming pools. You don't even have to use chlorine to go in your swimming pool. If you hook it up with this, one swimming pool out in New Mexico, of course they got a lot of red sand out there. They couldn't keep it clean. The pool stays pretty and clear, and they turned into a baptizing hole for the town. And
oh, amazing.
So just nothing but beautiful things happening.
So you can use it for your pool, you can bathe, you can wash your floors, you can wash your hair, your dishes, your clothing, everything.
You know, most people understand God made the body so beautifully and complex. If you can control 7 different things, God made the body to where it'll just heal itself. If you've got any kind of a disease, that's a symptom or a sign your body's out of kilter.
Right.
If you can control acid, yeast, fungus, heavy metals, worm and parasite problems, if you keep them under control, your pH, you know yourself, when your pH is low, you're sick.
Right.
You keep your pH up, no disease will jump on the human body. That's 6 things. Then the 7th one, you can do all of the 6 below and forget about the 7th one, and you're still going to live a ragged life with aches and pains. When you have aches and pains, that is a sign your body is out of adjustment. Now, it can be a pain from something else, like if you hit your finger with a hammer, like I did that one right there. Both fingernails come off, it hurt.
Absolutely.
There's nothing you can do but suffer the consequences with that, but normal aches and pains. If your nervous system, we are an electrical unit, whether you believe it or not, and I know you do. And you are a nerve being. Every part of you is controlled by nerve. And I'm a firm believer when the nerves are out of misalignment, that part of the body suffers from being ministered to, and that part of the body starts to dry up and die. And God healed me and taught me how to keep my nervous system in total balance, and telling the good news. The brochure tells you to sit down in a chair, stick your feet out in front of you, and ask the Lord to put your nervous system back in perfect alignment. Now I go teach chiropractors and medical people, doctors, anybody that'll listen to me. You know, I run into very few people that like to hurt. If you got the answer, they'll listen to you.
Absolutely.
Just like my grandson, he hurt his arm the other day, and we were sitting in a restaurant someplace yesterday, and he said, "Papa, my arm hurts." I said, "Well, put your hands out here." And one of his, this right arm was about 2 inches shorter than the other one. I just took him by the hand, asked Daddy. I tell you, I call God Daddy of Nanny. He's my father. I just asked him to put my grandson's body back in perfect alignment. It just come out there. And, you know, I tell people, have fun doing the works of the Lord. There's sick people everywhere you go. And about a year ago, my wife and I stopped at McDonald's to have an egg McMuffin or something, and she stepped on a curb crooked, and she come in there and said, "Clayton, my back is killing me." I said, "Woman, turn your chair around here." And there's people eating all around us. And I got her by the feet. And of course, that creates a stir in most restaurants. You know, look, I said, "Y'all quit eating and watch God heal my wife. She hurt her back." God just put her nervous system back totally perfect. And the lady sitting at the next table said, do that to me. I'm dying myself." And within 10 minutes, we had a full-flown healing service going on in McDonald's. So there's sick people everywhere you turn.
Absolutely.
And you can be a blessing when you know what to do. You can be a blessing to people.
Absolutely. Clayton, I wanted to say that America is growing sicker by the minute by the food that we eat, the water that we drink, the air that we breathe, and the chemicals we apply on our skin. Also the chemicals in our food, herbicide, preservatives, food enhancers like MSG, a poisonous substance that restaurant owners are using. Also, the way we process our food, how we cook, like microwave, dehydrate, and pasteurize in high temperatures, which kill all nutrients, leaving us with little or no nutrients left to feed ourselves. Clayton, your miracle has helped so many people around the world. You have shared a few stories with us how these simple, natural, chemically free products have brought people back to good health. Obtaining good health doesn't have to be complicated or difficult.
Yes, sir.
I believe that in today's day and age, people feel that with all the programmings that we see on TV, most people, if it's a pill, it's easy. For whatever it is, for a headache, for weight, all they want is an easy way out. They don't want to take the initiative to work with something that eliminating chemicals and eating correctly, growing your own garden, and like you just said, you have this product that is chemically free. There are no color dyes. There are no. It's odorless,
Yeah.
and it's chemically free, and you can use it for everything. So now simplifying. But most people will say to you, how could something so simple, when life makes everything so complicated for us, now you have this simple 5 things that will do all that. Do they listen?
You get people, you know, most people will tell me, Clayton, you know, it's about time things got simpler. We've been sold down this creek without a paddle on a lot of things. You got this to wash your head with, you got something else to wash your feet. Pretty soon I think some company will come out with something to wash your left arm and right arm with.
Absolutely.
We're
Yeah.
about to that state, but
Yeah.
hey, you know, in God's Word, He tells us He's going to use the foolish things to confound the wise. And all I can say, this is one of the foolish things that He's using. And you know, this is one thing. I didn't know this in the beginning. When the healing started on this, of course, one of the big government agencies was the first one to jump on me. And I'd say, if it's something fraudulent, harming people, put it out of business. But if it's of God, leave your hands off of it.
Absolutely.
And God knew I was going to need some legal help before I did. So He healed 3 attorneys in my area, one of them from his deathbed. He had got seafood poisoning, come down with Reiter's syndrome. And the doctor had given him 8 months at the most to live. Now, there's a 38-year-old man, an elected official or an appointed official in one of our parishes. We have parishes in Louisiana. You have counties.
Right.
And the doctor had given him that news that day. He said, go home, get your affairs in order. There's nothing else we can do. That's got to be something that would be devastating. A wife, school teacher, 2 children, pregnant with a 3rd one. Give 8 months to live. God put us together. I prayed for the man. God healed him. He started using the soap. He was totally covered in rashes. He said it tormented him 24 hours a day. He said the first bath he took in, he quit itching. Totally healed, and he called me and said, Clayton, if you ever need an attorney, I'm your boy. It won't cost you a thing. The other 2 didn't have to have leg operation. And when the FDA jumped on me, of course, they sent me a letter to quit breathing when I opened that letter. But I was happy. I was helping people. And I called them up, and they got real mean with me. They work off of fear. But I then got to the point beyond fear because I was doing the works of God.
Right.
And these attorneys found out there's 3 things the FDA don't regulate or control. That's God,
And soap.
your testimony, and soap.
3 things.
It stands to reason God would not have given me something that would have been under the domain of man. I'd either be in jail or out of business now. But he revealed something and anointed it, something that wasn't controlled by man. I didn't know that. So it's been a wild ride, and the millions of people, just like some of the stories I've told you, a church in North Mississippi.
Yes, absolutely.
They have took on Miracle 2. They formed the Miracle 2 Spiritual Eagle Club at the church. They paid the church off. They're keeping their money in-house, all the profit. This lady come by and picked up a bottle of soap, a bottle of Neutralizer, and a bottle of gel. She got out about a mile from the church, and she said people started blinking their lights at her and honking the horns as they went by. In a minute, she stopped, and she said when she did, flame just engulfed the whole car.
Oh, my word.
She said she pushed every button on the doors. Nothing would open. She said, I began to pray, Clayton, and both doors popped open. I grabbed my 3 kids and run out through the flame. The van rolled backwards now 70 foot and blew up, burned to a crisp. When the fire went out, guess what didn't burn? The soap, the neutralizer, and the gel. Now you're going to get that picture. It's been out a while, but I have touched those bottles of product. The pastor has them in the church. They're not for sale. But what's God trying to show us or tell us? Plastic bottles don't survive totally gutted out, burned vans. That's not natural. So I have seen that. I have talked to the lady that it happened to. And, you know, just like a lady up here in this state, Minnesota, they was fixing to cut her leg off, her foot, sugar diabetes. There again, there's no reason for any human being to have their limbs cut off because a sore won't heal up. There again, you control acid and yeast, and the body will heal up supernaturally.
Heal itself, yeah.
And somebody was out there on the front line. They knew this lady. They give her some product, and she wrote me a beautiful testimony, sent me a series of pictures of this. And I think 2 bottles of gel and 3 month, or either 3 month and 2 bottles of gel and bathing in the soap, the woman doesn't even have a decent scar.
All healed.
And I've never seen a bed sore that didn't heal up. I've never seen a skin cancer that didn't heal up. There again, you take care of the acid and yeast on the body, and God made the body to where it'll just heal itself. He made it so simple for us, but everything we eat turns to acid. Acid reflux and all of that kill dozens of people every day in the United States. But by consuming the neutralizer, God named it perfect. It neutralizes
The acid.
what bugs the human being. And your old skin is the best. And I've got to compliment you. Your skin is beautiful.
Thank you.
It is beautiful.
Thank you.
You can tell people that use Miracle 2 products.
Absolutely.
They got a glow to their skin. They got a healthy countenance about them. But your skin has 7 million plus pores on you. Every one of them is about 1/4 of an inch long. And the book says if you put all of them together, you'd be 28 miles long.
Wow.
And under every square inch of your skin, there's 15 foot of tubing under there, blood vessels. They're put there to keep us warm if they're working right, and to cool us off if we're too hot.
Right.
And when you keep the skin in good condition, all of the trash in your blood comes out through your skin. Hey, you know, my kids are always saying every year, Dad, you ought to go have a checkup. I said, well, you think I'm fixing to croak or something? Nah, you're just getting old, you need a checkup. And my doctor, I didn't have a doctor, and I needed one to have a checkup. And I looked through the phone book, and I said, I'm gonna get one I can remember his name. And his name was Mark Dollar. His last name was Dollar. I said, I can remember that dude. So I got a check, or they run blood tests and everything. And I went in to see him. He said, Clayton, be 72 years old. You've got the blood of an 18-year-old kid that's never been on drugs or alcohol. What are you doing? Usually there's mud running through people's veins at that old. So he opened himself up. I told him the story. And he said, bring me a bottle of everything that you make. So he is using it now. But you know, back years ago, I needed some knowledge on the skin. People was telling me it's doing all this healing. They said, how does it work? I didn't know. I know no medical terms or anything. And I said, God, I need this knowledge. If you go to a dermatologist, he's a skin guy, so I figured he could tell you something. I'd call him up and try to get an appointment with one. They'd cancel it when they found out I didn't want any services. I just wanted information, hang the phone up on me. I said, God, they just won't tell me anything. And then one day the Lord said, go west. I told my wife, I said, pack a sea bag, we're headed west. Went out through Dallas, Texas, El Paso. And she said, while we're out here, let's go see an old friend at Las Cruces, New Mexico. So I went and visited her. And then I was compelled to go up Interstate 25. And my wife said, where are we going, Clayton? I said, I don't know, I'm just led to go. We drove along and come to this town called Truth or Consequences. You ever heard of it? Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. I found out Bob Barker, I think, is from there. That guy gives all the stuff away on Price is Right. So you can see the whole town from where you get off at. So I just compelled to pull off. Drove through town about 10, 11 blocks, and that's it. I made a circle. Come back, there wasn't a parking place on the street. Come back around, and when I come back around, there's one parking space at the beginning. I pulled in, and Pat said, what you gonna do, Clayton? I said, woman, just get out and go shopping, look at something. God's told me to stop. I milled around, I walked in this old converted house into a used bookstore. And there's a little short Indian lady running it, and she had a bolo, one of these things, on a case over there, and I said, could I see that? And she was waiting on another customer. And when she got through, I said, have you got an old senior citizen discount? And she laughed, and she said, I might have. She looked on the computer. She said, yeah, I'll take $23 for it. So I went to pay for it, and I looked down. There's a little 87-page book on guess what?
Oh my
With the skin. Wrote by 2 doctors in England with every conceivable thing I'd want to know about the skin. So I got to go on a beautiful vacation. I got an education in skin. Now I'm a skinnyologist, or what do they call it?
Dermatologist.
And so God, that was the way God supplied me the knowledge about the skin.
All we need to do is pretty much just ask, you know.
Yeah.
If we ask, we will receive.
That's right.
Clayton, you can always tell the success of a product when other companies are trying to duplicate it. It seems like all of these companies are trying to duplicate your product, and they're falling short. Why is it that Miracle 2 is so far above all of these products?
Well, it's anointed of God. You know, any chemist can put a soap together. Any chemist can put a lotion together. Any chemist can put a moisturizing soap together. Any chemist can put a gel together, because there are recipes on the internet. You can get them. But there's one thing that you can't conjure up, and that's the anointing of God. God has anointed this to do those things. And why would anybody want to copy a counterfeit? They always want to copy the real thing. So Miracle 2 is the real thing. And there's so many, you know, people tried to steal it from the beginning. Some of the biggest chemical companies, we've been offered so many, we've been offered over $1 billion for this company. Money is not what it's all about. It's helping people. I could have a room full of money. I'd be the most miserable person in town. But give me the knowledge and a product to help people live a healthier, wealthier life. I get excited when people say, Clayton, this has got me out of debt. This has made my health perfect. I'm out of debt. And if somebody would have told me I'd have been delivered health-wise and financial-wise by soap, I'd have thought this was crazy. But that has happened to me. And I get this report just 2 weeks ago, I was speaking in Charlotte, North Carolina, and a lady called me. She said, I got to drive down there and meet you because you're responsible for my life being changed. I was dying with Crohn's disease. I stayed in the bathroom so long until I was just ready to die. Because you get to a point, it's just not worth living. And she said, somebody introduced me to Miracle 2. And when she come in that church I was speaking in, the most radiant lady you would ever want to meet. We grabbed each other and hugged each other. I weep with some people. I rejoice and with some people. But to know that I had an opportunity to help that people through somebody else getting it to her. And we're living in one of the most interesting times a human being could live. We've got a product that God has revealed and anointed and made holy. And we can go tell about it. We can actually get a hold of this. Now, God has not changed. A lot of people has changed. But you know, it's been 2,000 years talking to pastors and religious people all across the country since God has done something like this. The last time he revealed something over a broad state was the handkerchief, the apron, and the shadow of Peter and Paul. You could just go lay a handkerchief on somebody, they'd be healed and the demonic spirits would come out of them. And now you can do the same thing with Miracle 2. Plus you can take a bath with it, clean up everything in your community, use it for agriculture. There's farmers getting double crops by spraying this on their crops.
There's a picture that we have in our center that about 3 tomatoes, and I know that you did a test on what happened to the. Tell us about the tomatoes.
I just moved on doing that because somebody had told me about this from Saudi Arabia back years ago. So I grew these tomatoes. They were on the same plant, and I set them under our the shed at the factory. And there's 104 degrees for 18 days. So I washed one with just water. The other one, I washed it with a Miracle 2 soap, sprayed it with the Neutralizer, and set it down, took pictures of it. And at different stages, I think after 2 weeks, I took a picture, but after a month, the one just sprayed with water was just crystallized. No liquid in it, it's just like powder. So I took the one that's still there with sprayed with a Neutralizer, and I took it in, made me a tomato and wholesome bread sandwich. So it will preserve foods and all. Yeah, you know, soap, most people just take it for granted. Soap, it's got to be good, but if you're bathing with bar soap, you're bathing with the end results of a dead animal. The next time you go to one of these fast food stores and you see them dumping that grease out in those containers, say, well, I'll be bathing with that in about 6 weeks. That's what they make soap out of. So once you start using Miracle 2 products, you never have to clean your bathtub. You never have to clean your tub because there's no additives, no fillers. We don't add any sodium lauryl sulfate to our products. We add a food gum for coloring. It's one of the most beautiful greens you could ever see. And you know, it's just like God told me to do it, I do it. We're not going to change. This is our 23rd year. We will not change for any man or any company. I tell people, if you don't like it the way it is, just keep bathing with a pig. That's your freedom. We live in America. You can bathe with what you want to, but if you want a perfect product for your body, inside and out, use Miracle 2 soap.
It works.
It works.
Absolutely works. And you would think in this day and age, with all the technology that's out there, you would think that someone could produce your product, but for some reason, they cannot.
Well, the largest chemical companies in the world, one of them, he got healed of skin cancer, and he asked his friend, said, has Clayton ever had that analyzed? And the friend said, he told me he could care less. That would be like asking Naaman, you know, in the Bible, if he had the Jordan River tested before he dipped 7 times. He could give a flip. He got healed of leprosy. And it's probably on the downwind side of Jerusalem where the sewage was running in, was where he had to bathe. But you know, that's what we put on the label. They said it's either this or a similar material. It cannot be positively identified. And this one man in Colorado said, could you reproduce this same product? He said, you've got to have a starting point. There's no beginning and no end to that formulation. So God, whenever he reveals something, that's just like the song Amazing Grace. If you change the word in it, it would foul the whole thing up. Just like God give it to the man, it moves on people. And this soap will affect you if you use it for the good. We've never had any negative reports that I know of on the product. Nothing but good things. And I tell people, God only gives good gifts.
Absolutely.
And if you want to totally change your life, and you know, you start using it in 2 or 3 months, you look 10, 15 years younger. So why wouldn't you want to look younger?
Yes. You know, the truth is that we have folks that will come in and they will buy and they will go home and they will try it. And I will tell you that they come back the next day because they question as to, and you can tell with only one time of usage, you can tell how it cleanses. But it's good for teeth as well. We use the gel with the 1 drop of soap, and it cleans plaque.
Best
Melts.
toothpaste. You know, if you read your toothpaste package, it and washing powder is 2 of the most dangerous things in your house. It tells you if you even think you have swallowed any.
Right.
You know how quick something gets in your system when you put it in your mouth, like one of those nitroglycerin pills when you have a heart attack. How quick does it get to your system? Instantly.
From under your tongue, yes.
And you put that toothpaste in your mouth. A lot of companies say 6-year-old, 12-year-old, don't even let them use it unless you supervise.
Right.
You ever go in and try to supervise a 12-year-old kid brushing his teeth? He eats about 2 inches of that tutti frutti tasting toothpaste.
Yes.
And he stays sick all the time. All of these products has been tied in with ADD in kids and adults. And I just tell people, wise up, smart up, listen to what God has revealed on the earth, and take advantage of it and live a healthy, wealthier life. And like people can come to you and become distributors. People looking for jobs, they can go out. Every human being on the earth needs soap. And when you give them a choice of what they're using now and what they can get in Miracle 2, there's no doubt most of them will try the product. And if you ever try it one time, if you try it for a week, you're hooked on it. There's nothing like taking, you know, about years ago, if I'd heard a man say, I think I'll go in and take me a bubble bath, I'd have thought you big sissy, you. You know, bubble bathing was for women, and showers or nothing was for men.
Amen. Yes.
But now, don't beat me on my bubble bath. Because you allow your pores to open. From what I've heard from some doctors, it takes 14 minutes for your pores to open and eliminate the toxins. And this is the only way toxins has got coming out of your body is through the pores of your skin. I heard a testimony about 2 weeks ago. This mechanic had to quit work. All crippled up with arthritis, hurting all over. He got a hold of some of this, his wife did, and he said the first bubble bath he took with it, the water turned black. The oil coming out of him. He's back to work now, productive. He's not crippled up, and living a beautiful life. But as simple as taking a bath, using a product that'll clean the skin up to where the body can detoxify itself.
Do you know that when you take the bath, you absorb while you're soaking? You absorb 2 quarts of water.
That's right.
So now you're actually taking that water, the soap and the neutralizer internally, and then you go to bed.
Yeah.
Guess what? Your morning's pHs are going to be affected because of that water exchange that was absorbed through the skin.
Yeah.
So I want to say that for me, when I first used and I did my bath, it felt we become heavy when we have stress and when we have acid and yeast and all that. But my first bath was, I felt like somebody had just lifted a whole mess of weight off my shoulders. And that night of sleep was just absolutely sound. And I remember that I ended up doing it for cleaning my sheets and my clothing. But that is exactly like if you look at your pillows and you weigh them, the longer you keep a pillow, the heavier it'll be, and that's dust mites. Well, the same principle, kind of think about it, our bodies will hold pretty much the same.
That's right.
So that's a good principle as to understanding.
And if you ever wear underclothes and sleep on sheets and pillowcases washed with a laundry ball and therapeutic ball,
Right.
you know that's just not a laundry ball. Get you 2 or 3 of them, throw them in the bathtub. It finishes the water with negative ions, which they're short of that now.
Yep.
And use it for rolling around on your skin if you got aches and pains. I take them off traveling with me, and I use them for squeeze balls, exercising my fingers from driving all day or something. And ladies or men that stand up a lot, come in at night, pull your shoes off, and roll that thing on the floor under your feet. And of course, the chiropractors say the 8,000 nerves or something in your feet. When you get those nerves woke up, you just want to run. I mean, you're relaxed, so you can do so many things with it.
Through reflexology, your hands, your feet, and your ears have all the organs.
Yeah.
So when you do that and use it, you're actually affecting absolutely.
So it's a fun thing. God gives fun things. So get a hold of this, use it, and you'll see the glory of God in something so simple. You'll just go around smiling all day. I have people tell me, I just feel happy because I have all that trash out of my system, and my body's just happy. And all I can say, if somebody says, why are you so happy? All you can say, I took a Miracle 2 bath.
Absolutely. But people, when they find something and it works for them, they're out there. They want to share. They want to tell others so that they can experience the same as they. But for anyone who doubts or questions if miracles still happen, I believe they do. I hope this program has shined a light that miracles do happen to those who believe. Clayton, this has been a joy for me. Your story has touched my heart and many of the people that come to our center. I know your story forward and backwards, and I know that the person I see in front of me has been touched by grace.
Yeah. It's real. Not one word that we talk about or that wrote about Miracle 2 can be discredited. Many people have tried to discredit it, but nobody. There's nothing there to discredit. When they're trying to discredit, they're not trying to discredit me, they're trying to discredit God.
Absolutely.
And so.
And you are a man of God. And I trust.
I desire to be.
I trust.
I'd like to thank everyone for watching this program. We at the Health and Wellness Show invite you to join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. on Channel 6 Metro Cable Station. For those who would like more information about the Miracle 2 products, contact the person who gave you this video. I thank you.
God has made us stewards of the earth. And if each one of us will do our part, we can clean this earth up to where it'll be a more enjoyable place to live. There's so many raging epidemics and pestilence on the land. It just astonishes me, but most of this could be eliminated if people would only clean up their bodies and treat it as well as they treat their automobile. Mm-hmm. And your pH, be sure and check your pH every week or 2 or 3 times a week, because your pH will determine your health. And it's so easy to do. If it's low, just sip a little more Neutralizer and get your pH back up. But it's very important that you keep your pH in balance. So I just tell you from here, God bless, go in health, and go about doing good, and give the glory to God. But hey, you know, I'm a very blessed man, and God has just brought this through step after step after step all the way. So the first product we had was this green clear soap, and it was clear in the beginning. And after we got 3 or 4, I got tired of taste testing them. That's the only way I could tell what was in the bottle. So there was a company that sent me some food gum samples. I'm all the time getting samples in the mail of different things. God had them send it to me, no doubt. I can make it green, red, or blue. So I picked green out because it's growth, healthy, and that's the most beautiful emerald green I've ever seen. It's just beautiful to me.
Beautiful.
So it's all edible. All of the food gums we use, they're edible. Never anything bad said about them. So I started dyeing it, but my wife, I started bathing in this, and she did too, and she said, Clayton, that soap dries my skin out. This was when it was first started. So this company out of California had sent me 3 or 4 little 4 or 8 ounce bottles of cold pressed oil. So I poured some in, shook it up, and I needed a guinea pig. And the only one fussing was my wife, so I give her a bottle of it, and I said, here, honey, use this. About a week, she said, boy, my skin, look at it. Every dry-skinned person in the world will buy a bottle of that. So we had 2 products. This one, we put no stabilizers in it, and you shake it this way, and it mixes that quick. And this for dry skin people. A lot of people wash their clothes in this. They say they like the odor of it. A lot of people use this. A lot of people use the laundry and therapeutic ball. But we had 2 products, started getting them out, satisfying everybody's skin problems. Then one day as I sat around the factory, the Lord said, separate some of the products. So I separated them, and I had this. Everybody would see the green, they'd see a jar of white clear up there, and said, what's that, Clayton? I said, I don't know, God told me to separate it. What will it do? I said, I don't know, that's his problem. He told me to separate it. And one day there was 4 women and 3 men, and me and my son Kirk in the office, and they asked that question. I said, we need a name for it, because God had named everything else. The Miracle 2, my wife and I were driving through Mississippi, down at Loosedale, Mississippi, right north of Biloxi and Gulfport, Mississippi.
And it's about 3 o'clock in the evening. I looked out, and there's a little fluffy looking cloud floating around out there with the sun peeping out over the top of it. All of a sudden, I just saw Miracle Roman numeral 2 wrote across. I told my wife, I said, grab a piece of paper and draw me a cloud. She said, now Clayton, you're talking to yourself, you've seen something on the wall, now you're seeing things wrote in clouds. I said, woman, just write it down. So anyway, that was the second miracle that God gave me. The first one, he healed me. The third one, he radically saved me. I don't know what the religious deal is on it, but that's what happened to me. My life changed when I got healed, but I didn't know what to do about it. I was just running down the road with the healing. But anyway, we had 3 products, and I began to give it away. And people would say, Clayton, I was just moved to spray it in my eyes, and my cataracts fell off. Another one say, I had the toothache, and I filled my mouth up, and it quit hurting. Another one, earache. Another one, I got out in the sun, got sunburned, and I sprayed it on me, and I just didn't even turn red. Another one, they got burned with gravy, fire, and I soaked a rag and wrapped around my hand, and the next morning I couldn't even tell I'd been burned. And just hear these stories over and over again. Another one, I had acid reflux, and I took me a big drink of it, and it just killed it. And so I was just being bombarded with results from it, from people I just give it to. And so I just began to write some of that stuff down. And so we had 3 products then. Somebody said, why don't you make this into a gel? So I know nothing about chemistry, but I done something, and this just turned into Jell-O. It was in a pan. I couldn't get it in anything. So I had to throw that batch away and make the next one in a 5-gallon container so I could air pressure it out. And I come up with something. These products are truly an emergency room in a bottle. I've had people snake bit, they use this to kill the snake venom. I've had people get hit in the eyes with brush out hunting, 100 miles from no place, below freezing, running through brush, hit their eyes, wake up at 2 o'clock just in agony. And somebody with them had some Neutralizer, they poured it in, it healed up before daylight, and they didn't have to go to the doctor. And the man said, you ought to put emergency room in a bottle on that, and that's what we done. We put it on the label. But this, you can use it for every conceivable thing, from hemorrhoid troubles to brushing your teeth with it. And if you want to your kids never have any cavities, put 1 drop of soap in it, 2 or 3 drops of flavoring, mint, spearmint, watermelon, vanilla, whatever flavor you like. Take a straw and mix it up in it. Your kids will never have cavities. You can swallow this. You'll never have throat problems. Many, many singers use this to keep their voice box in good shape. And just about every day I take me a nickel-sized glob of it and put it in my mouth, because I talk so much and all. If I didn't, I'd get to where I couldn't talk hardly. But people that's got tumors or any kind of informity about their body, rub this on it every day 2 or 3 times and watch what happens. If you've got a wart or mold, rub this on it. Of course, you need to bathe in the soap too. And so this is truly a product beyond your wildest imagination, what it'll do. So I just don't get caught far without this. And I'd recommend for any man and woman, men, take a glob of this. If you don't have prostate problem, take a little of it and put it on your prostate area every night you take a bath or every morning. Ladies, put a coat on your breast of a morning. If it'll heal infirmities, it'll prevent it. You're using a preventative. So through the whole thing, you've got a product that'll just get you out of a lot of trouble. Men, if you ever use this for aftershave lotion, you'll never use anything else. You can rub it on your face, all over your neck and ears, especially if you stay glued to a cell phone. You know, tumors are beginning to show up in people's brains now and ears. Shut that radiation off. We found out this will stop radiation.
Wow.
So if you stay glued to a telephone, be wise and use it. So this will just do so much. If your feet's tired, take and put you a good coat of it on that night or in the morning, and you'll feel like tap dancing all day long. It just brings life back to you. This is, you know, God has given us something so precious. We're living in one of the most exciting times that God has chose to do it again. After talking to religious people for years, the last time that God done something specific was with Peter and Paul. The handkerchief, the apron, and the shadow. You could go put a cloth on somebody that you got off of Paul, they'd be healed, and all the demonic spirits would come out of them. Okay, you can do the same thing with any of this. If you don't believe it, if you know somebody's got a devil in him, get him to rub it around on him, or you rub it around on him, and watch what happens. I'll tell you a story or two that's been told to me over in North Carolina. A distributor run into an atheist. And he said, man, you people are crazy. How could God write on the wall when there's no God? You people are stupid. He said, what, is just soap? Are you afraid of soap? He said, no. He said, I challenge you to take a bubble bath tonight. Go in and run you a tub of hot water, put you some soap, neutralizer in it. He said, I'll do it just to prove to you y'all are nuts. He told a distributor the next day, he got in, run him a tub of water. He said when he got under the suds, he got struck by a bolt of lightning.
Whoa.
Knocked him totally out of the tub, laying sprawled out naked on the floor, crying out to God to forgive him. Got up, put his clothes on, went to his friend, and he said, you took a bath and what happened to you? And he went through the story. This guy was sitting in a wheelchair. He rolled his britches legs up, took the gel and rubbed all over his knees and legs. He come out of the wheelchair, and they're preaching Jesus Christ over in North Carolina now.
Glory to God.
They're supposed to get this on tape for me. So many stories, and until it's just wow. But then we had 5 products. Then somebody said, why don't you make a skin moisturizer? I took everything I make, all of the products, put it in a pot, stirred it up, and I come out with the only odorless and greaseless skin moisturizer made in the world. And I come out of Corel, this hand like to froze off of me over there. Every crack on my hand bled 365 days of the year. I didn't shampoo my hair with this hand from 1954 to 1990. And a hair would feel like a dagger sticking in that hand. And I started using the soap to wash with, this to put on it, and it healed up. It's the last thing I use at night, and after I get through washing of the morning, my face, then I put this on now. I wouldn't want to go without it, but for a hand to be as bad as it was for so many years, and I do a lot of hard work. I just got through laying this year about 60 tons of stone. I like physical work, and I built an 8-foot wide fireplace. It'll burn 8-foot wood in the guest bedroom at the factory. I've always lived right where I've made it. So 2 years ago, we moved into this $7 million complex that God let us have for $1 million cash. And I needed a place to live on that, so I turned the engineering building, which is 60 by 75 in 3 sections, I turned it into a restaurant. And I'm building a guest bedroom in one side of it, so if any of you ever come down within, give me a month and I'll have it finished. And you can sleep right on the compound, get locked up. At 9 o'clock at night, I got a key to get out if I want to. So people, I've already had one distributor come down, and I told them, I said, I don't have it finished. They said, we don't care, we'll sleep on the floor. So I said, well, I'll go out and buy you an air mattress anyway. So we had a blessed time, the 2 or 3 days they stayed with me, and they was able to sit around and glean everything that I know, and other people come in. There's a half a dozen people a day come in from someplace in the United States to visit us. They just want to come by and talk to me and some of the rest of the people. So we've got that going on now. But these products happened, and I had 2 women that called me one day, and they said, Clayton, that soap costs too much to wash clothes with. I don't think it does for what it'll do for you, get you set chemical free. Because toothpaste and washing powder are 2 of the most dangerous things in your house as far as your health is concerned. It's been tied up with ADD in kids, ADD in adults, and everything. So it bothered me. So I said, God, what can I do? And this voice spoke to me and said, contain it. I said, what are you talking about? He said, put the soap and neutralizer in a container and throw it in the washing machine. So the first bottle, I made up a bottle and I put it in these 8-ounce bottles. It made a lot of noise sloshing around in the washing machine, but it washed clothes. So I said, I need a container. Susie, that boy's mother back there, went shopping for some kids and bought some toys, and she come back to the office, and she started in the office. She stumped her toe, and the bag blew open, and this ball just come bouncing out across the floor. And the Lord said, there's your container. I grabbed it up, let the air out of it with a volleyball needle, then took me a pump-up sprayer and put the valve on it and the clamp. I filled it up, and sure enough, it worked perfect. I run to the store. They had 10. They said, we don't make them anymore, they're obsolete. I said, you got to make them. God told me this was it. And they got rid of me real quick. They gave me the man headquarters 800 number. And I called them, they told me the same thing. I said, look, man, I've got to have these balls. God told me this was the ball I had to use. I said, call that factory, see if they'll make them. He said, well, how many do you want? I said, well, I can buy 5,000. So he called me back the next day, and he said, they said they'd make them just for you. So now we buy 30,000 about every 90 days.
Wow.
And out there they'll last 20 to 30 years, as long as that covering is on it. And what happens, I have to go by what experts tell me. They say that sloshing around in water, it fills the water up with negative ions. I wouldn't know an ion if I run over it in the middle of the road. But this is what water people tell me. And so, you know, they have lightning strikes, they have solar flares. When this happens, that's putting negative ions back in the water. But man is polluting it faster than it can be replenished with this. So you can explain this thing so far, and then you just got to say, look, man, it's a spiritual thing. Quit trying to figure it out. It's just like trying to figure out, you know, when you repent, get radically saved, you don't want to be mean anymore, you don't want to cuss anymore, You don't want to be aggravating. You don't want to do anything to hurt somebody. You can't explain that.
Amen.
But it happens. It's a spiritual thing. So I look at that. You can put it on the floor, pull your shoes off, roll your feet back and forth about a minute. And when you get both of them done, you just want to take off running. I don't care how tired you are. It just exercises all those 8,000 nerves, they say, is in the bottom of your feet. Roll it on your skin if you got an ache or pain. Put a little gel on it and roll it around. We make a water unit that the material is in it and it flows through, and it's causing crops, farmers to get double yield on their crop. The highest protein ever been registered in wheat was grown this year and last year in Kansas. There's hog farms that's got no odors. They're odorless hog farms. I've been in a pig pen, and you could go in and eat a ham sandwich and never know you was in a pig pen. They're feeding the pigs this Neutralizer and the soap, pouring it in the pits. You know, these hog pens are sitting on a 1 million-gallon septic tank. They're breathing that all the time. They're using chemicals. It's killing the pigs, but when they start using Miracle 2, it's help. They live, they cut their dying out, and I can't wait till a batch of them grows off that's using this. The ham will probably be better and the bacon will be better. So,
All right.
you know, God is revealing this in so many areas, and I love to see people get involved in it, get out of debt, and you know, it's just a blessed product. So there's been people try to steal it, and you know, it's backfired on them. It's sad, but it's a natural thing for men to try to imitate something. It's just like counterfeiters. They don't take a counterfeit bill and they take the real thing and try to make one like it. And they get caught all the time. And the energy, the power that's in this is beyond your wildest imagination. Oh, give me a couple of strong guys up here. I want to show you something. Okay, I got one.
Go ahead, Paul.
Have we got a strong lady?
How about Kurt?
Paul's gonna go up. I'll go. He's gonna go up. He's strong. I think.
Now,
I don't know.
but now to show you, that's just a simple muscle test. I mean, it's no big deal, but God told me to do this several years ago. It's blown people away. I've been to wrestlers that could throw me through this ceiling. Usually, when I go to preach in a prison, I take 2 books. I take the Bible and I take an Elvis Presley book. Some people call him king, you know. And the last one I went in, I demonstrated the Bible and the Elvis Presley book. And usually the ringleader shows up for church to see who he's got to keep under control. I mean, there's a hierarchy in prison, and you toe the line or they beat you up. And you can see him, he's got the biggest arms because he's been working out for them. I put the Bible in his hand, couldn't touch him. Took the Bible away from him, put the Elvis Presley book in his hand, same ink, paper, and God turned him into a noodle, just totally fuzzed his brain up. Let's do it again. And the 3rd time we demonstrated, he fell on his knees, repented, got saved. The guards give me another hour. I demonstrated on the guards. They couldn't believe it. They'd never seen anything like that. And I'm telling you, you can do it and see the glory of God. Okay, we got a bottle of soap. Put it in his hand here. And just, I'll tell you what, get around like this right there so people can see. Now, hold your hand out. Don't, yeah, and don't let me push it down. I mean, just give me everything that you got. Okay, this is a bar of soap from the motel. That's the end results of a dead animal. Okay, do the same thing. Put your arm. Okay, I want to demonstrate something.
He wants to do it again.
This is a almost wore out Bible. Okay, do it again. Okay, this is a good book, but it's not a perfect book. Cabela's, it changes every month. This doesn't change. So you've got ink, probably better ink than this was wrote with because it's up to date. Okay, put it out there. Okay.
Glory to God.
You take the Bible again. You do it up. The Bible and Miracle 2 carries the same energy. Okay, now, just for kicks. This is a good soap, but it's not perfect. Just got a little bit, but not total. So it's created by man, it's conjured up in a lab, and you go down to Walmart, Kmart, and buy the same thing somewhere. It's sad, but it happened. You want to try it ever again? Sure. Okay.
Clayton, do the neutralizer.
Huh?
I got the neutralizer in there, don't I?
Yeah.
The masters?
But you can take that same thing.
He's strong.
How old are you?
55.
Just a kid.
Yeah.
What you have on your body totally consumes you, just touching it. It's either got life or it's got death. It's just that simple. So if you're going to use a product, use the real thing, no imitation, and see the glory of God in it. Young man, you come up there.
Yeah, I want to try.
Okay. Give me everything you get.
It's kind of an unfair test of a bad arm.
Oh,
That's okay.
I won't hurt you.
No, that's all right. Unbelievable.
But you know, the Bible, anything that God reveals, He anoints. And He makes holy. And this stands up against it. Nothing that's printed or said about this product can be discredited. We got 23 years under our belt with it. And not one word can be discredited about it. But be careful in what you put on your skin, because it can either mean life or death to you. So, you want to try the Bible?
Sure.
This is cool.
And now try the other book.
Cabela's, all right.
Join the many people around the world who have experienced the benefits of these miracle products in detoxifying their bodies of toxins, heavy metals, and the #1 acidifier, stress. I thank you for viewing this video in its entirety. For more information, contact the person who gave you this video. If you experience the Miracle 2 products, you too will have a story to tell. Please do not make copies of this video. Some of the proceeds from this video go to charitable organizations.